What if the reason you feel powerless isn't a failing of will? It's missing chemistry. What if there has been a tiny, overlooked element that acts like the code to the lock of your master gland, the pituitary? And when it's absent, the whole command center runs on low battery. Today, I want to name that possibility, to show you the map, and to walk you through a practical, embodied practice that treats this as both a biochemical support and an initiatory reset. This is not magic replacing medicine. It is a hypothesis and a method. Reclaim the line of authority to your body by tending the chemistry that helps the pituitary speak clearly, and by training your attention to stop drowning out that signal. The pituitary sits at the base of your brain like a small sovereign throne. Biologically, it is the nexus that receives cues from the hypothalamus and dispatches hormones that regulate growth, stress responses, reproduction, metabolism, and many other systems. Metaphorically, in the language of the mystery traditions, it is the master gland, or the inner governor, that confirms your claim to agency. If the pituitary cannot read or release the code, if its conductors are thin, its cofactors depleted, or its signal drowned in noise, you feel slack, reactive, and small. Your decisions feel slow or ineffective. Your body's messages are mixed. Your life's tempo gets reshaped by forces outside your center. In modern physiology, minerals serve as essential cofactors and conductive elements for enzymes, receptors, and the very electrical signaling of neurons. They don't order miracles, they enable processes. One mineral that fits this role as a plausible, forgotten keystone for pituitary hypothalamic signaling is zinc. Zinc is not a poetic glyph. It is a trace element required across hundreds of enzymatic reactions, and it plays a clear role in brain function and in hormone regulation. Evidence indicates zinc participates in neurotransmission within the brain regions that govern endocrine signaling and influences hormone synthesis and release. See the NIH Office of Dietary Supplements Zinc Overview and reviews on zinc's roles in the central nervous system for further detail. NIH ODS, Zinc, Sensi et al., NatRev Neurosci, 2009. Let me be explicit about framing. When I say zinc here, I mean it as a scientifically plausible candidate, one that is supported by mainstream nutrition science as essential for central nervous system function and for hormone-related enzymes. I do not claim it cures endocrine disease or guarantees clinical outcomes. Think of zinc as a potential missing conductor that helps the pituitary hear, not as a magical switch that instantly rewrites history. Where evidence is limited, I will be transparent. Where the science is robust, I will point you to it. Why this matters in lived life. A weakened pituitary axis shows up as fog, flatness, hormonal instability, poor recovery from stress, sexual dysfunction, low energy, or the sense that your own intentions have no authority inside your body. Those are the symptoms people describe when they say, "My body won't listen." In the mythic language I use, the archontes, the noisy conditioned patterns, interfere with the signal. They create static. Zinc and similar micronutrients are both part of the hardware that transmits your commands and part of what allows the software, your attention, rhythm, and ritual, to interface with that hardware. If that idea resonates, do one small thing, hit like and say, "I'm ready" in the comments. We'll walk this together. Let's ground this in clear physiology before we move into practice. The pituitary itself is a small endocrine organ divided into anterior and posterior lobes. It receives releasing hormones from the hypothalamus and secretes tropic hormones that direct other glands, thyroid, adrenals, gonads, and act directly, growth hormone, prolactin, etc. For the pituitary to function optimally, it depends on a clean neurochemical environment, intact neurotransmitter signaling, and a suite of enzymatic reactions that require micronutrients. Minerals such as zinc, magnesium, iodine, selenium, and boron each support aspects of hormone production, receptor sensitivity, or neuronal transmission that feed into the hypothalamic pituitary axis. Zinc, specifically, is abundant in the brain, and participates in synaptic signaling between neurons, including in circuits where the hypothalamus negotiates stress, appetite, and reproductive cues. Zinc is also implicated in the regulation of certain hormones. Deficiencies can blunt hormone release or alter their patterns. These are not fringe claims. They are the content of decades of nutritional and neurophysiological research. At the same time, large-scale definitive clinical trials tying zinc supplementation alone to broad pituitary reboot outcomes are limited. So we move forward with both curiosity and rigor. Zinc may support the system, but it is not a guaranteed cure. NIH-ODS, Zinc, Sensi SL et al. Zinc in the Physiology and Pathology of the CNS, NatRev Neuroc, 2009. Now translate that into metaphor. If the pituitary is a throne room and the hypothalamus the herald at the gate, zinc is like the oil that allows the hinges, the wiring, and the lock's tumblers to move with precision. Without that oil, the herald cannot lift the bar, and the throne remains unengaged. The esoteric frame calls this the code. The code is a material requirement and a pattern of attention, chemistry plus ceremony. The ritual of calling the monad in these traditions was always twofold: prepare the hardware, then transmit the command. We will do both. The bridge between the science and the ritual is simple and practical. Biologically, you support the pituitary by addressing sleep, circadian rhythm, stress, and by ensuring adequate micronutrients. Esoterically, you remove the noise that hijacks attention, descend to the felt center of authority, and speak a concise command that the body can translate. These parallel tracks are complementary. One prepares the physical substrate, the other clears cognitive-emotional interference that blurs the signal. Practical protocol, physical track, evidence-informed, high level. 1. Assess dietary context rather than prescribing doses. Foods rich in zinc include oysters, shellfish, red meat, poultry, beans, nuts, whole grains, and dairy. If you follow a plant-forward diet, prioritize legumes, seeds, pumpkin, sesame, and whole grains combined in ways that increase zinc bioavailability, soaking, sprouting, fermenting. The NIH Office of Dietary Supplements provides reference ranges and considerations for zinc intake and interactions with medications. Consult it for specifics. NIH ODS, Zinc. 2. Check status clinically if you suspect deficiency. Low zinc is uncommon in well-nourished populations but can occur with restrictive diets, gastrointestinal disorders, chronic alcohol use, or other risk factors. A clinician can evaluate symptoms, diet, and labs, and advise testing or supplementation when appropriate. Never stop prescribed endocrine medications without medical guidance. 3. Support circadian cues. The hypothalamic pituitary axis is entrained to day-night rhythms. Prioritize regular sleep, morning light exposure, and consistent meal times. These behavioral supports amplify any mineral correction by strengthening the timing signals the pituitary uses. 4. Reduce chronic inflammatory and metabolic stressors. Chronic inflammation and poor metabolic health blunt endocrine signaling. Prioritize protein adequacy, fiber-rich plants, omega-3 sources, and sensible movement. These are systemic supports for the master gland. 5. If guided by a clinician, consider targeted supplementation. Because zinc interacts with other minerals and medications, and because over-supplementation carries risks, supplementation should be conservative and ideally supervised. Keep the conversation with a qualified clinician if you pursue this route. Practical protocol, energetic track, the guided call, adapted for practice. This is the ritual sequence you can do seated or lying down. It follows the 3-frequency structure we've used for years: recognition, authority, command. It requires only your breath, attention, and a willingness to release. The language below is specific and intentional. Use it literally or adapt the verbs to your own voice. The entire practice takes about 6 to 12 minutes. Begin by setting a quiet, unavoidable boundary. Turn off notifications. Sit with a straight back but relaxed shoulders. Ground both feet on the floor or feel the support beneath you. Recognition. Find the antenna. Close your eyes. Take 3 slow, full breaths. With each exhale, feel the outer noise diminish. Bring your attention to the base of the skull and the center just behind the bridge of the nose, the region of the hypothalamic pituitary connection. Notice any sensation, pressure, emptiness, warmth, or silence. You are locating the antenna. Say silently to yourself, I recognize the seat of command. Do not analyze, simply locate. Authority, descent to the throne. Drop your attention down 2 inches into the chest, into the heart center. Breathe into the chest. Let your rib cage expand sideways. Here is the felt authority, the place that can speak with clarity. Imagine an elevator of attention that connects this heart throne to the small gland at the base of the skull. Picture a thin, luminous cord, conductive and true. With each inhale, the cord brightens. With each exhale, it tightens. Repeat silently with steady breath. My authority descends and aligns. Feel the steadiness of the heart as you inhabit the throne. This is not force, it is a calm, settling. Resonance, hold the conductive tone. Now, lightly vibrate an internal tone. You do not need to vocalize aloud. Simply generate a tiny inner hum, a tone of intention. Let that tone fall into the luminous cord and feel it resonate in the base of the brain. Sustain that felt vibration for 3 cycles of breath. If doubt arises, name it and let it pass. Doubt is noise. Do not engage. Do not argue. Return the hum. Notice how even a small, steady vibration clarifies the sense of connection. Report and command. Speak the code. From the heart throne, state a simple, present tense sentence to the gland. Use first or second person. Use what fits your voice. Examples: pituitary, listen, align my rhythm, or master gland, open the channel, release clarity now. Keep it brief. The ritual requires a single precise command rather than a laundry list of desires. Speak the line once with conviction, feeling the resonance travel up the luminous cord, and then repeat it internally twice more. Each time, feel the gland receiving. This is the moment of agency. You are not begging. You are instructing the system you inhabit. Release. Let go of the outcome. After the command, relax the voice of expectation. Visualize the cord remain luminous, but step back from needing immediate proof. Say aloud or silently, I release this command to the system. Count to 3 mentally and allow the body to settle. Latency. Wait without checking. Important. Do not scan for immediate signs. Do not replay or second guess. The system will respond in its time. The practice's power lies in fidelity to this non-clinging pause. If doubt arises, practice non-engagement. Notice the thought, return to the breath, and do not reissue the command. You can repeat this sequence once daily for a week, then observe. Pair it with the physical supports above. What follows a true realignment often looks stranger than people expect. There are 3 archetypal patterns you may observe. Not promises, but patterns many people report when a system reconfigures. Collapse, the demolition. Old structures sometimes fall quickly. This looks like a sudden surrender of a belief, a relationship dynamic ending, or a temporary plunge in mood as the system clears. The mind interprets demolition as loss. In transition terms, it is clearing space. Treat it gently. This is not a reason to stop medical care or ignore severe symptoms. It is a sign that the system is reorganizing. Echo, synchronistic feedback. Shortly after the collapse, you may notice repeat patterns or synchronicities, small confirmations that the new pattern is being tested in the field. A conversation, an email, or a coincidence reflects the new frequency. Take these as calibrations, not final proof. Neutrality. Detachment as authority. Over time, the cultivated neutrality arrives. You act from a place of non-reactive sovereignty. Choices are less urgent, emotional storms pass more cleanly, and your inner commands travel with less friction. This is the most sustainable sign of realignment. You are no longer pushed by noise but guided by internal authority. A word on interference and safeguards. Systems push back. The subtle mind will produce doubt, fear, and testing sensations intended to keep you in the old story. Expect it. Do not engage. Keep breathing, repeat the practice, and keep tending the physical substrate. If at any time you feel destabilized, rest, consult trusted support, and if symptoms are severe, dizzy spells, syncope, heart irregularities, suicidal ideation, seek immediate medical attention. Medical and pragmatic boundaries. This protocol is designed to complement, not replace, medical evaluation. If you are on hormonal therapy, thyroid medication, or psychiatric drugs, do not alter or stop your medication without consulting your clinician. If you have known endocrine disorders, discuss any supplementation or major dietary changes with a healthcare provider. Zinc is safe in normal dietary amounts, but high-dose supplementation can interfere with copper absorption and interact with certain medications. Use clinical supervision for sustained supplementation. A few practical notes about implementation and measurement. Track subjective changes in a simple journal: energy, sleep quality, emotional reactivity, libido, and thought clarity. These are coarse but valuable indicators. If you undertake supplementation under clinician guidance, periodic labs can help assess shifts in relevant markers. Again, the practice is not a substitute for clinical care. Combine the energetic practice with consistent sleep, morning light, stress reduction, and dietary attention for multiplier effects. The ritual is the command. The lifestyle is the environment in which the command is permitted to act. Now, a short caveat about naming and evidence. The idea of a singular, forgotten mineral is powerful metaphorically. Scientifically, endocrine health depends on multiple nutrients and systemic conditions. Zinc is a strong candidate because of its roles in neuronal signaling and hormone regulation. Reviews on zinc's roles in brain function and endocrine modulation provide a basis for considering it a keystone nutrient in the pituitary hypothalamic conversation. NIH Office of Dietary Supplements, Zinc Overview, SenSL et al. Zinc in the Physiology and Pathology of the CNS, Nat Rev Neurosi 2009. Other minerals, magnesium, iodine, selenium, boron, also participate in the orchestra. If you prefer to think of a single key, think of zinc as the conductor's baton, rather than the only instrument. Before we close, one more embodied practice you can do daily that echoes the ritual above, but is brief and subtle. 3 times a day, place a hand over your heart for 1 minute, breathe slowly, and say one short internal command. Listen now. That small repetition builds muscle memory for the authority you are cultivating and keeps the luminous cord responsive. To summarize, the thesis is not that zinc or any mineral promises miracles. It is that micronutrients are necessary hardware for the master gland's function, that restoring that hardware while deliberately practicing attention and non-clinging command can increase the clarity with which your pituitary receives and issues signals, and that this combined approach, biochemical support plus ritualized attention, is a pragmatic, embodied way to reclaim agency. If this message landed for you, if you felt a shift or a recognition, keep the commitment simple. 1 dietary adjustment toward zinc-supportive foods, 1 weekly check-in with a clinician if you have risk factors, and the daily energetic practice I taught. Allow the system time to respond. Do not chase quick fixes. Trust the latency. If you want to go deeper with me, subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, where we'll unpack the research more thoroughly, map out safe testing options, and walk a longer group practice together. For now, honor the slow work. Feed the hardware, silence the static, descend to your throne, and speak with calm authority. The gate will open when both the chemistry and the command align.